My name is George Schieferdecker. I'm a founding partner at BKSK Architects in New York City. We like to be a firm that talks very much about context by looking very carefully at a place, very carefully at a neighborhood, very carefully at the relationships of our buildings to other buildings at various levels. Well, we've done a number of projects with Terra Cotta. New York is a city that's filled with wonderful terracotta precedents, and we like the idea of reinterpreting that material in a very contemporary format, partially because it feels wonderful and has a sense of contemporary craft when you get up very close to it. We love to use the expertise of individuals as they apply to materials. We as architects don't know 75% of the capabilities of any one particular material, but if we associate with those people who do understand it, we can begin to incorporate it into the design of the building. So working with Christine was a joy for us.
And the way of application, hand sprayed with a spray gun, gives this liveliness to the surface, as well as variations in the response to light conditions.
My name is Christine Jetten. My studio is based in the Netherlands, Studio Christine Jetten. And I'm a consultant for architects and the ceramic industry for the artistic approach of architectural glazes. I always have been a material researcher, and I always have been interested in architecture. But not as an architect to design the buildings, but as a matter of space, how to experience space, how to explore space, what happens when we enclose space or disclose it. New York is fantastic. I mean, it's an amazing city. I tend to call it the Terra Cotta city. For the bricks, for the ornamentation in combination with the brick buildings, and for the entire terracotta cladding. It's everywhere.
We are at One Great Jones Alley, which is a project of ours on Lower Broadway in New York City. And what marks this area of the city, I think, predominantly, is there is a wonderful tradition of great architecture and wide variety of historical architecture that we needed and wanted to fit into. Here, we were working in with a tradition of wonderful architecture that happens on Lower Broadway and creating a building that resonates both on the exterior as a public presence of importance to the street, as well as to the interior for the individual residents and their experience of the city from inside the building. And we chose and wanted to emphasize the prevalence of terracotta in this area of the city as something that we could reinterpret in a contemporary sensibility and create an aesthetic that was both appropriate to kind of modern expression for a building and the historic, decorative, architectural, material traditions of the area.
Architectural terracotta is terracotta that is either ornamental or structural for buildings, mainly for facades. And that's how it especially happened in the United States once the high-rises were being built from cast iron that needed a fireproof protection. Terracotta was a very suitable material. And when you notice all the modular elements, it shows you it's terracotta. And now for nowadays use, it being modular allows a lot of extra qualities to the facades, such as a climate control for a facade. So not just only being structural or ornamental, but also functional.
Well, the other buildings that we've done the work in have also used that kind of modular approach, and the fact that it can be used in a contemporary way to reinterpret a craft tradition. The project on 529 Broadway actually takes the terracotta form and twists it over the whole length of the facade. The entrance to 1 Madison, which is actually on the back of the building, has a substantial amount of variety to its fins and a wonderful presence in terms of that variety. And those are the kinds of things that you can do with terracotta that you can't do with other materials.
So the facade kind of breathes. Instead it's just solid and sitting there. That's what I like about it. It's like bringing the historic fashion into the 21st century in a modern building.
Because of this different orientation, at certain times of the day when the light streaks across the face of the building, sort of half of these fins reflect the light in a certain way and the other half do the opposite. So that whole process of working with Christine over a long period of time, learning about how one gets variety and the variety that one is going to expect from terracotta, whether it's because of the size of the kiln or the firing of the kiln or the person applying the glaze, or whether the item that's being fired is sitting on its side or sitting vertically, or all those kinds of things. You then can apply them to your design, and you generally start in one place with an idea and you end up in another when you think about and include those partnerships.
Modern architects design with the material where they are inspired by the material, instead of using it to mimic something else or as a solution for a design, but really thinking from the material and designing with the material. And more wonderful examples are being built in the city. This apartment building, for one. So it's the history and a modern architecture, like the landmarks of the future are being built nowadays.
It's what I would call contemporary craft. It's understanding that craft and materials that are crafted can be very interesting and can be rendered in a very contemporary fashion. It doesn't have to be a traditional surface of any sort or a traditional application. And the glazing of terracotta provides that opportunity. It has an enormous variety to it that if we embrace that variety, if we love that variety, if it becomes part of our architecture, it becomes an enormously powerful tool to create interest and diversity and dynamism to the architecture. And we like that aspect of it, and we try to think of different ways to apply it to the work that we do.